In today's video, we'll be looking at 10 amazing kids who, because of them being born with unbelievable medical conditions, are unlike any other kid out there. Have you met any other kids like these? Well, make sure to let us know down below in the comments. I've also noticed that most of you watching this aren't subscribed yet, so if you do like the video, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It's absolutely free and you can always change your mind later. And with that said, enjoy the video. Our first entry is Mohammed Kaleem. Mohammed Kaleem was a very young boy from India who gained worldwide notoriety back in 2015 because of his very unusual condition. The young boy, who lives with his parents in a small village in Jharkhand state, eastern India, was born with an extremely rare form of gigantism, which resulted in his hands and arms growing to massive proportions. At one point, his arms and hands weighed a whopping 28 pounds each. And unfortunately, Kaleem has been bullied by his peers because of his condition. He wasn't even permitted to attend school because school administrators said that his giant hands would scare the other children. And of course, living in rural India means that Kaleem and his family have also suffered the ire of their neighbors. The superstitious bunch believed that the boy's condition was the result of a curse, thus branding him the devil's child. Even the most basic of acts are difficult for Kaleem, all because of his overgrown hands. But hope arrived in the form of Dr. Raja Sapapathy, a pioneering hand surgeon who was known for his expertise in microsurgery. He agreed to take on Kaleem's case, for free. Ever since meeting the doctor, Kaleem has undergone 2 surgeries, one to reduce the size of one of his hands and the next to stop it from growing again. His hands are still massive, but the future looks pretty bright for the kid with giant hands. Next, we have Vincent Okech. From a boy with giant arms, we now move to a boy with giant legs. Born to poor parents over in Uganda, Vincent Okech started out very normal looking. But at 18 months old, a time when the boy was just trying to learn to walk, his parents noticed his legs were getting big. And when I say big, I mean unusually big, and it didn't stop growing. At 10 years old, Vincent was either confined to a bed or had to be wheeled around in a wheelchair because of his massive legs, which were at this time actually weighed more than the boy himself. Like with Kaleem, Vincent was teased by other kids because of his condition, and of course wasn't able to go to school. And also the fact that his family being too poor to seek medical help didn't help either. Pretty sure the villagers were also superstitious. His story was picked up by local news media, and soon the poor boy's condition made it to the UK, where some doctors reached out to help. Sadly though, Vincent did pass away without getting the surgery that would have prolonged his life. Because they were too big, fluid had to be drained out of his legs before flying to the UK for the operation. His travel papers were already being processed when he tragically succumbed to heart failure. He was just about to turn 11, and having much smaller legs would have been the perfect birthday gift. Next we have Didier Montalvo. Didier Montalvo had a mole that grew so big that by the age of 6 it covered his entire back like a turtle shell, earning him the nickname of Turtle Boy. This rare birthmark, known as congenital melanotic nevus, affects around 1 in 20,000 newborn babies, but a top surgeon described Didier Montalvo's condition as the worst he had ever seen. Didier's life was severely affected by the growth, covering more than half of his body circumference. It also caused unbearable, painful itchiness on his skin, and also affected his confidence in ways you could only even imagine. He and his family were shunned by villagers in his home in rural Colombia in South America, and his mother Luz was even told it was her fault for looking at a solar eclipse while pregnant. The family was too poor to shell out for surgery, but his life did change when his touching story was featured in a local newspaper, and a flood of donations poured in. While they could now afford the operation, the life-changing surgery was still by no means straightforward. In fact, it would be painful, dangerous, and complicated. Fortunately for us, though, the surgery was successful, and the former Turtle Boy is now living a normal life. I'll say this, though, your neighbors can be friggin' mean in certain places. Next, we have Connie Lloyd. Connie Lloyd was born with quite the unusual birthmark. She had a bright red nose. She was only a day old when her parents Zara and Tom, both 24, noticed a tiny red birthmark on her nose. During the next month, the raised circle grew to a diameter of about 1.6 inches. This completely covered her tiny button nose. By the time she was a month old, she had a perfect clown's nose that wasn't only growing externally, but internally as well. Fortunately, her parents found a surgeon who could remove the growth, and it's a good thing that they did. According to the doctor, if Connie accidentally cut the bright red birthmark, she could actually bleed to death. This fact also made the surgery a bit more complicated than it should. In the end, though, the birthmark was successfully removed, and the only thing that's left of it now is a tiny scar right on the tip of the little girl's nose. Next, we have Bayazid Hossein. Born in Magura in 2012, Bayazid Hossein doesn't look like your typical 10-year-old. He was born with progeria, a condition known for its characteristic aging of the body at up to 8 times the normal rate. As a result, Bayezid lives inside the body of a 70-year-old person, a true Benjamin Button case if I ever did see one. He's got the sunken eyes and the sagging skin typical of a person of advanced age, as well as the aching joints, the weak body that prevents him from doing any physical or strenuous activities, and his appearance scares other kids, so he has few friends. Though, due to his physical limitations, he's had a lot of time practicing his brain. He has above average intelligence for his age, and this constantly impresses both his mother and teachers. It's more than likely that Bayezid will not live past his teenage years because Progeria patients are known to die of heart attacks around an average age of 13. While it breaks his mother's heart that she's not going to have her son for as many years as she'd expected, she's constantly amazed by his intelligence and determination to enjoy life like a normal child. Next, we have Jonathan Pater. Jonathan Pater was a Canadian boy from Russell, Ontario. He was born with a rare genetic mutation called recessive dystrophic epidermolysis bullosa, or EB, which I'm pretty sure I mispronounced there. This condition causes external and internal blistering across the body, and if that sounds painful to you, well, that's because it is, and Jonathan lived with that excruciating pain for the entirety of his short 18 years on Earth. He may have had one short life, but the courage he showed with living with the disease and the measures that he took to create awareness of it made sure that he lived a full life. When his situation gained worldwide attention in 2012, he became an ambassador for DEBRA Canada, a charity devoted to the support and awareness of EB. He was even made an honorary scout by his favorite hockey team, the Ottawa Senators, and even attended the NHL Awards in Las Vegas, of course, along with the Senators. Johnny, as he was called, simply loved hockey, and he let everybody know that. The Ontario Ball Hockey Association even held a tournament in his honor, with part of the entry fee donated to DEBRA Canada. He received a stem cell transplant in 2016 in an attempt to cure his condition. However, it unfortunately failed and he died from septic shock on April 4, 2018. However, his legacy is being continued by those who loved him, especially his mother. Next, we have Supatra Sasaphan. Supatra Sasaphan from Thailand suffers from werewolf syndrome, also called the Ambras syndrome, which is a genetic condition that has affected about 50 people across the world since the Middle Ages. The syndrome causes hair to grow all over the body, including the face. She was recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's hairiest girl back in 2010. Because of this honor, she's now enthusiastic about her unnatural looks and is leading a comfortable life, like other people. The wolf child no longer cares about the bullies who make fun of her dense facial and back hair growth. Also, words such as monkey face and wolf girl don't reduce her to tears anymore. Doctors have yet to come up with a remedy considering there are only 50 documented cases of this rare syndrome. Some sources have indicated that a laser procedure she underwent in her childhood did not help. On the contrary, lasers only increased her hair growth rate, which ended up even thicker. Despite these conditions and setbacks, she's grown into a charming young woman. She actually got married in 2017 when she was only about 17 years old, and the marriage is still growing strong to this day. While her hairs can't be permanently removed, she does maintain a regular shaving routine to make her face hair free. Next we have Charlotte Garside. When Charlotte Garside was born, she weighed a mere 500 grams and was only 25 centimeters long, possibly making her the tiniest baby to have ever been born. At the time, her condition was so unusual that it didn't have a name and was described as a rare kind of dwarfism. Due to Charlotte's size, most experts thought that she wouldn't live past her first birthday. Now, 6 years old, she still fights on. Her dedicated parents, who have 3 other children, were reduced to dressing her in doll's clothing. This is because even the smallest of baby clothes wouldn't fit her. Charlotte's older sisters loved to play dress-up with her, though. Charlotte was diagnosed with primordial dwarfism. What's that? Primordial dwarfism is not a genetically transmitted gene, but a genetic disorder during pregnancy. That is, Charlotte could be born a completely healthy child like all children. However, the cause of the genetic disorder during pregnancy is unknown. Her parents are ordinary people who have never worked with poisons and chemicals and have never been in places of high radiation. They don't do drugs, they don't drink alcohol, and as far as I know, they don't smoke either. By all accounts, they lead a pretty normal lifestyle. While her parents will always worry about her future, they aspire to give her the best life they possibly can. She has a stunning personality, they just hope that everybody else will be able to see past her size and into her big heart. Our final entry for the day, folks, is Shiloh Pepin. Shiloh Pepin was born with the rare genetic condition called Cyranemelia, better known as mermaid syndrome. Because of this, she was born with both her legs fused together, which resembles a mermaid's tail. Shiloh is considered some sort of a miracle, because most babies born with a mermaid syndrome rarely live a few days. Unlike most children born with mermaid syndrome, Shiloh's legs could not be separated due to the way her major arteries were running through her legs. The condition meant that Shiloh had no uterus, bladder, or large intestine and was only graced with one partially working kidney. Despite the circumstances, though, Shiloh continued to prove doctors wrong as she overcame her difficulties. In 2009, she celebrated her 10th birthday. Previously, she had undergone 2 kidney transplants and a number of other operations to prolong her life. Against all odds, she attended school, appeared on several talk shows, and was an inspiration to children all over the world. Sadly, though, her fight came to an untimely end at age 10, after a cold quickly turned into pneumonia. Thank you all for sticking with me to the end. Like the video if you would, and leave a comment. And as always, thank you all for watching. Later, everybody.